Swamin Namaste Nataloka Bandho Karunya Sindho Patitam Bhavabdho Swamin Namaste Nataloka Bandho Karunya Sindho Patitam Bhavabdho Mamuddharatmiya Kataksha Drishtya Rijvyati Karunya Sudhabhivrishtya Swamin Namaste Swamin Namaste Swamin Namaste Swamin Namaste Yat Kirtanam Yat Smaranam Yadikshanam Yad Vandanam Yat Shravanam Yadarhanam Lokasya Sadyo Vidhunoti Kalmasham Tasmai Subhadrashravase Namo Namaha Vichakshanaya Charanopasadanat Sangam Vyudasyo Bhayato Antaratmanaha Vindantihi Brahmagatim Gataklamaha Tasmai Subhadrashravase Namo Namaha Tasmai Subhadrashravase Namo Namaha Tasmai Subhadrashravase Namo Namaha. Jai Guru, Jai Guru, Jai Guru. So, today is the 200th live streaming. I also noticed it last session that it was 199. So many days and years have passed. And we have been discussing this very beautiful knowledge, the knowledge which will give us liberation even in our waking state, in our life, if we pursue it sincerely. And for that knowledge, I think all of us know that the realization of one's real identity is to be had. Who am I? I is not the changeful body, mind, intelligence, but I am the changeless I, unaffected, eternal, fearless, imperishable. And that is what we have been constantly discussing. We discussed various concepts. We discussed about the various states in sadhana. The highest state, the highest concepts are discussed. And also, our scriptures tell us how we can go to that state, how we can climb to that state of attainment of the knowledge that I am the self, I am indestructible, I am imperishable. So, I have been doing this little part from Chitta Prasadaha, from the Prakarana Sarva Vedanta Siddhanta Sara Sangraha of Shankaracharya. And Chitta Prasadaha, as we all know, many of us know, that to know that I am that self, for the self to reveal itself, the mind must be very calm, placid and tranquil. And we find that our mind is not so. It brings about so many desires, so much indecisions in the intelligence, so much of possessiveness and attachments which agitate the mind and disturb the mind. Now, to attain the self, our real identity, what we should do? Our sadhana or our practice is not only to know about the self, but the practice is to make the mind placid and calm by sublimating constantly with the help of introspection, using the mind and intelligence, that where from the desires are coming, what are the desires, and what are the clingings, what is the ego, how we get obstructed by them. That is, the desire, possessiveness and ego, they make a veil in the mind and intelligence. Do not allow it to become sharp and subtle. And that is why the self, which is always there, does not get revealed to us. And even it, for some moments we get a glimpse of it in our meditation, we are not able to retain it because the mind is full of desires. The desires are so many, gross as well as subtle. And we have been discussing about that very, very often. Now, in Viveka Chudamani, as today I was thinking what I will speak, this sloka came to my mind, which I have done at one time, maybe 1 year back or 1.5 years back, or in the beginning of these sessions. It is 335 sloka, numbered sloka of Viveka Chudamani, where it says, Bahye niruddhe manasa prasannata, manaprasade paramatma darshanam, tasmin sudrishte bhava bandhanasho, bahir nirodha padavi vimuktehe. It is talking of manaprasadaha, chitta prasadaha. Since we are doing chitta prasadaha, suddenly this shloka came to my mind, that manaprasadaha has been discussed here. And what does Shankaracharya say in Viveka Chudamani? See, why does the mind get disturbed and the mind does not get this placidity, the calmness, the tranquilness? Because of the disturbances, subtle and gross desires. And the desires come from where? See, the objective world. Outside things. Our senses go towards them and we want to have them. And if we have them, there will be anxiety and fear, suppose we lose. And if we do not have, then there is anger, blame, etc. Also, the subtle desires are there in the mind, which we have dealt with many, many times. You know, we may not be wanting so many of objective things, but the subtle desires of getting praise, loving words, consideration from others, a little bit of respect from people, all these are subtle desires, and many more. So, this shloka says, Bahye niruddhe manasa prasannata. Bahye niruddhe manasa prasannata. Manaprasade paramatma darshanam. Tasmin sudrishte bhavabandhanasho. Bahir nirodha padavi vimuktehe. Bahye niruddhe manasa prasannata. So, when we make a practice of not allowing objective world make our mind disturbed, that is, we do not, many thoughts may come, many objects may be seen, but we must be introspective enough and we must have our resolution and discrimination to understand what are these, what desires they are creating in us, and whether those desires are good for our spiritual progress or not. And understanding it very well, whatever does not help in our spiritual progress, makes our mind disturbed, you stop those, remove those, renounce those. So, bahye niruddhe. So, external objects or the external world is shut out. Shut out. Know that these things, these thoughts I will not indulge in. These objects, say all the five indriyas will be wanting some things according to their pleasure. But we know that these are not going to help me. It's going to create problems with me. So, renounce them. So that is how externally and inside also we should shut out such objects which bring about disturbances and agitation or affliction in the mind. If we do so, the cause of disturbance has been removed. That is, we don't indulge in them. And then what will happen? Naturally, when the disturbance is not there, the mind will become cheerful, will become calm, peaceful. So, bahye niruddhe manasa prasannata. And when mind is placid, what happens? Manaprasade paramatma darshanam. When the mind is absolutely calm, the self reveals itself. We get the vision of, or we realize the Paramatma, the self. Tasmin sudrishte bhava bandhanasho. And when we realize the self, what happens? The worldliness completely gets destroyed. Bhava bandhanashaha. Nashaha means destruction. Bhava bandha means our bondage with the worldliness. We want this. We constantly indulge in thoughts which make our mind afflicted. So that is the worldliness. Constantly wanting something, wanting something. We have many things, but still we want. So this worldliness that we have and the attractions to what we want and repulsion to what we do not want, all these are worldliness. That is likes and dislikes. So these worldliness actually make our mind afflicted. So bhava bandhanashaha tasmin sudrishte. When we realize the self, we understand I am the self, I am the only one and everywhere is the same self, then who will have fear from whom? Who will have desire for what? Everything is the same. So when we realize the self, this worldliness completely gets removed, dissolved. So it says in the last line, Bahirnirodha padavi vimuktehe. So if you are wanting to have liberation, that is liberation from the shackles of the mind. Why shackles of the mind? Shackles of the mind and intelligence. These are the things which give bondage to the mind and intelligence. Constantly the mind will be thinking of various things, which many of it are unnecessary. But the mind is constantly making the cobwebs, they will make all these nets. So similarly, we'll be constantly moving into our thoughts. And what Bhagavad Gita says, this constantly the thoughts arising and disturbing us, it does not stop till the body falls, unless you try for it. You must be introspective and constantly tell the mind and not indulge into those thoughts which are afflicting you. So, Bahirnirodha padavi vimuktehe. What is liberation? Liberation is from the shackles of the mind. Like intelligence also, sometimes it is undecisive, sometimes it is confused, like that. So, the shackles are the bondages. By chain it is bound. Now we have to become free, liberated from those shackles. So if we want to step towards that liberation, the attainment, then what we have to do is Bahirnirodha. We should be very, very introspective to see that we do not indulge in unnecessary thoughts, unnecessary plans, unnecessary thoughts about the future, unnecessary thoughts about the past. By imagining about the future, nothing we can gain. We do not know whether the future will be what we are thinking about. It may not be like this. And past is past, it has already happened. So why think about it? So Bahir Nirodha, and the objective world, suppose you gross things you want, you must be very introspective and use your mind and intelligence to see whether these are good for sadhana or not. So Chitta Prasadaha, it needs, as we all know, the sadhana is necessary, practice is necessary. Like in Bhagavad Gita also, Arjuna is asking that, oh Krishna, mind is very restless. It is just like, to control the mind is just like, controlling the Vayu. Now, what Krishna says? Krishna says that you have to constantly do abhyasa. What is abhyasa? Practice. And then he says, vairagya, and you must have vairagya. So, on one hand, we must do practice, that is, make effort, and on the other hand, we should constantly have vairagya towards the thoughts or the worldliness or the worldly objects which are not conducive for our sadhana. So now we come back. Now we have discussed that to sublimate sublimate the mind, to make it placid, what we should do is pursue and enhance Sattva Guna in the mind and cultivate sattvic qualities. That is what we have been doing. The 364th verse in Sarva Vedanta Siddhanta Sara Sangraha, it right in the beginning says, Yameshu nirato yastu niyameshu cha yatnataha. So with effort, you must take to yama and niyama. And why you should do and who can do it? Who has viveka? A person who is having discrimination of mind, uses the intelligence properly, rightly, for that person, this with effort, yama and niyama have to be pursued. He will understand and he should do it, he should take to that practice, and then his chitta, the mind, prasadam adhigacchati, will be placid. We have done all that in great detail, and last time this niyama, the Ishvara Pranidhana, was the last part of it, and we have done it in great detail. And the great detail means what, my dear children? It is not only hearing, it is to be doing. And doing when? Doing in interaction. When we interact, we have to see whether we are living by what we have learned. And everything in yama and niyama, we saw that it turns to only one knowledge. What? Turns towards the self, the soul, or the Brahman. If we be very firmly stable in the knowledge that I am the self, I am Brahman, nothing happens to me, no affectation is there in me, no affliction is there in me, I am imperishable, I cannot be moved, I cannot be destroyed. And not only that, everywhere is the same self. Or you think God is everywhere, God is inside me, just like the self. Everywhere it is, God is everywhere. This one knowledge that I am that, to be remembering during action, during speech, during thought, during interaction, understanding that I am God's, I have been produced by God, I am sustained by God. Whatever I do is because of the design of that Supreme, and that is why I cannot have any kartritva or bhoktritva, the I-ness and my-ness. And all this is the result of only one thought, that I am the self and I am God's. I have nothing, nothing belongs to me. Everything is the extension of the self, whatever is happening in this world and inside the mind. I am part of that extension. So this only thing we have to remember. But the remembrance becomes so much broken. Our mind starts remembering many other things. We are not able to remember this. Or even when the mind is thinking of other thoughts, we are not able to associate the fact that every thought, every action, every interaction, whether good, whether bad, is originating from the same self. So it is this extension of the same self, the same source. My dear children, actually it is very easy. It is easy when we want that alone. And because all of you, most of you are in the household, there is a lot of duties and responsibilities. You have to associate your household duties, your professional duties, your societal duties, your interactions with this knowledge. Remain in that knowledge and then act. Remain in this knowledge and then act. So, what he is saying is that Sattva Guna has to be enhanced. Why Sattva Guna has to be enhanced? Because when the Sattva Guna increases, all the indriyas, the sense organs, the mind and intelligence, they become very sharp, subtle, sensitive, bright, and they are able to, the buddhi becomes so sharp and transparent that everything that is happening inside the mind, in the thoughts, you are able to understand, as if like a torch, they are able to tell you where is your desire, where is the possessiveness, where is the ego. These are to be sublimated. So, when Sattva Guna increases, Sattva Guna, the Sattva Guna is like clear water. Clear water. Like the sun, it can reflect. So, I'll come to the shloka number 365, the next one. The next one says, see, this is Shankaracharya's Sarva Vedanta Siddhanta Sara Sangraha. In this little portion, he is step by step telling us how the mind can become quiet. And through very, very doable practices, not very difficult practices. Not that you have to think a lot. It's something which we can do in everyday life. So he is saying, Asurim sampadam tyaktva bhajed yo daiva sampadam mokshaika kankshaya nityam tasya chittam prasidati. What does it say? Asurim sampadam tyaktva. One who desires liberation alone. Moksha eka kankshaya. Only wanting liberation alone. Moksha eka. Only liberation. Kankshaya. Wanting only that. If one wants liberation alone, then what one should do? Asurim sampadam tyaktva. Abandon the evil traits from your mind. Evil traits means the traits which make us suffer, make us angry, agitated, irritated, depressed, despondent, blameful, critical, judgmental. And when we have these traits which come into us bringing in waves of many thoughts, If you are critical, if you are judgmental, if you are irritated, if you are impatient, you are intolerant with people, naturally the mind is not restful. It is not calm. You do not like anything. You don't find anything interesting. All these are making your mind go through waves of either dukkha or elation or depression. So the mind remains afflicted. So it says, if you want moksha, now moksha what? What is moksha? Moksha is liberation. Again I will repeat, liberation from what? Liberation from the shackles of the mind and intelligence. Liberation of those things which bind you, which make you feel constricted, which make you feel burdened, which make you feel that nothing is pleasant in this world. These feelings, cheerlessness, these feelings. So if you want liberation from that, what you have to remove from your mind is the source or the cause of those emotions or feelings. What are the causes? It is called in one word, asuri sampada. That is very well described in Bhagavad Gita in the 16th chapter. So, not that in Bhagavad Gita Krishna has said, Shankaracharya is saying that leave those and grow and cultivate the Daiva Sampatti. Bhajed yo Daiva Sampadam, the divine qualities. Then you must cultivate divine qualities in you. See, we did yama and niyama. We have discussed we started with the 363rd sloka of Chitta Prasadaha section. We did 364, where yama and niyama should be pursued by a viveki person. We have done it thoroughly. Now, in this sloka is saying that if you wish liberation, you should cultivate divine qualities, renouncing the asuric ones. Now then we must know what are the divine qualities and what are the asuric ones. Now in Bhagavad Gita, so we'll have to go and see what are the divine qualities. In Bhagavad Gita, in 16th chapter, it says, 16.5, in this sloka, what we just now saw, that mokshaika kankshaya nityam tasya chittam prasidati asurim sampadim tyaktva bhajed yo daiva sampadam mokshaika kankshaya nityam tasya chittam prasidati. Yaha mokshaika kankshaya, one who with the desire for liberation alone, asurim sampadam tyaktva, abandoning the evil traits, asurim, daiva sampadam bhajet, and cultivates divine qualities, tasya chittam prasidati. And there is a word nityam, that is nityam daiva sampadam bhajet. Instead of constantly indulging in asurim sampad, you will find that if we look into ourselves throughout the day, maybe at night, if we assess ourselves, we will find most of the time our mind has indulged in thoughts which are not necessary, which are about others, which are a little irritating to oneself, and not pleasant ones. Or thoughts about anger, thoughts with anxiety, thoughts which are fearful. Only those we have done more, and we have not had peaceful thoughts. So, nityam, what should we cultivate? The divine qualities. And should not indulge in the asuric qualities or the demonic or evil qualities always. Is it clear? Is it clear? As I always say, when we are listening, when we are reading, we should constantly assess with us how much time we are trying to cultivate good qualities, how much time or hours we are spending understanding that many of the evil traits are lurking within us, unnecessarily agitating our mind. And we need to strengthen many of the good qualities which we may be having. We have to strengthen them and make them more and more prominent in our life. So this shloka in 16th chapter in Bhagavad Gita, this also says the same thing. See, the first line, 5th shloka. Daivi sampad vimokshaya nibandhaya suri mata. He says, Arjuna, divine qualities conduce to liberation. In all our shastras, they say in the same voice the same thing. Maybe the language may be a little different. So here Krishna is saying the same thing. Daivi sampad vimokshaya nibandhaya surimata. And he says divine qualities conduce to liberation and the demonic ones or the evil ones lead to bondage. Saying this, he has told Arjuna, Ma shuchaha, don't grieve, O Arjuna. Sampadam daivim abhijatosi Pandava. Ma shuchah sampadam daivim abhijatosi Pandava. He says, Arjuna, don't be afraid, don't grieve. You are having divine qualities, so don't grieve. That is, you are fit for liberation. I don't know whether you feel that this is a simple two lines written. When I read this, I feel that just like Arjuna, Krishna should be able to tell me, Ma shuchaha, sampadam daivim abhijatosi. Krishna should be, if Krishna was to come and talk to me, and he would tell me that this is what is divine qualities conduce to liberation and the evil traits, they lead to bondage. But don't grieve, you are fit for liberation because you are having divine qualities. That means the responsibility is what? I have to cultivate the divine qualities, even if I don't have. So what are the divine qualities? Now let us come to the divine qualities. This is the 16th chapter beginning, 1, 2, 3, it tells the divine qualities. And the 4th sloka, see, divine qualities, 3 slokas. And the evil qualities or the demonic qualities, only 1 sloka. Now, before that, Daivi sampad vimokshaya nibandhaya surimata. Before that, I'll come to Vivek Chudamani. Before we take to the divine qualities. Vivek Chudamani again. I started with Vivek Chudamani today to tell you that manaprasannata, it is when we do not indulge either grossly or subtly with the worldliness and the worldly object. Manaprasannata comes, and when manaprasannata, the placidity comes, then we have Paramatma Darshanam. And when that realization of Paramatma happens, then all the worldliness, all the shackles fall off, and this is the way, that is shutting off the unnecessary distracting elements of the world which do not conduce for our sadhana, not giving indulgence to them is the stone for liberation. This is what I started with. Now I come to Viveka Chudamani 117. We are talking about Sattva Guna. And 363, 364, 365 we are doing now. 363, we have seen that Sattva Guna has to be increased. And how it can be increased, it's now being told. Now what is Sattva Guna? Vishuddha, we know that always there is a mixture of the Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. But the Sattva should be enhanced. It should be more and more, we should grow towards Sattvic qualities. All these divine qualities are Sattvic qualities. So in Viveka Chudamani 117th verse, it says, Sattvam Vishuddham Jalavat Tathapi Tabhyam Militva Saranaya Kalpate Yatratma Bimba Pratibimbitas San Prakashayatyarka Ivakhilam Jadam Sattvam Vishuddham. Sattvam Vishuddham Jalavat Tathapi Tabhyam Militva Saranaya Kalpate Yatratma Bimba Pratibimbitas San Prakashayatyarka Ivakhilam Jadam. This pure Sattva, this is Vishuddham Sattvam, Sattvam Vishuddham. This pure Sattva, Vishuddham Sattva Jalavat. Pure Sattva is like clear water. Tathapi Tabhyam Militva. But in combination with Tabhyam, Tabhyam is indicating to Rajas and Tamas. Tabhyam Militva Saranaya Kalpate. It provides for worldliness. So, Sattva Guna makes one quiet and quieter, brighter and brighter, subtler and subtler. But when Rajas and Tamas are also active, they bring in activity, they bring in thoughts, or they bring in such traits by which the Sattva Guna becomes dimmed. So, although Vishuddha Sattva is Jalavat, clear water, it is very transparent like clear water. If there is clear water, you can look and see your face even. But Rajas and Tamas, they create difficulty by coming in and creating worldliness. Now, when the light of the self gets reflected in Sattva alone, suppose we make the practice, our practice of sadhana, to constantly introspect and not indulge in the rajasic qualities and the tamasic qualities which bring in affliction or affectation, the pure sattva starts gaining prominence. And when the light of the self, when the self is there, within us the self is always there. That is Satchidananda. It is self-effulgent. It has its own light, its own joy. It is the existence itself. So, when the light of the self gets reflected in sattva alone, when sattva is prominent, rajas and tamas have become very, very less, then what happens? The self gets revealed. Just like when the sun shines, the sun comes up, the sun rises in the morning, the whole world was dark. When the sun rises, what happens? The whole world becomes visible. The whole world becomes lighted. Similarly, when sattva guna becomes prominent in us, at that time the self gets reflected in it and is the one who is doing the seeker. The seeker with Sattva Guna, in his buddhi, the self, the buddhi which has becomes Sattva, Sattva Guna, that self gets reflected and the seeker is able to realize that I am the self. Bahye niruddhe manasa prasannata. So, manasa prasannata is absolutely necessary. And how? Bahye niruddhe. You have to stop indulgence in such thoughts which are against this. Against what? Against calmness, against restfulness, against tranquility, against placidity. Such thoughts do come in, always come in. That is how we have grown up. That is how, since we have been giving indulgence to all kinds of thoughts, nobody told us these practices, this sadhana. But when this sadhana is known, then we have to make practice, abhyasa, effort, not to indulge, bahye niruddhe, manasa prasannata. What we will gain? Manasa prasannata. Because what? Why? We are keeping aside such traits of ours which afflict us or disturb us. And that is actually, when this we do, that is the growth of the Sattva Guna. Because the bahya, which was constantly disturbing us, that is full of the work of rajas and tamas. When they become too much in their percentage, then Sattva Guna gets reduced. So what we are trying to do? We are trying to remove the other things which is not sattvic and trying to increase in Sattva Guna so that our mind becomes prasanna. Now, Sattvam Vishuddham Jalavat Tathapi. Remember this is the 117th verse of Vivek Chudamani. Tabhyam militva saranaya kalpate. Sattvam, Vishuddha Sattvam is like pure water, but Rajas and Tamas come and bring about the worldliness. So, our main effort should be to increase the Sattva Guna and remove the Rajas and Tamas, which are cause of worldliness. And when that is so, when the Sattva Guna is prominent, then in that the self reflects and reveals itself. And when Sattva Guna is not there, just like suppose there is a mirror and mirror is polished very well. Suppose you keep an object, it will be seen. Suppose the mirror is very dirty, you keep an object, the object will not be seen properly. Similarly, when Sattva Guna takes the foremost place and becomes the most prominent, it is so transparent that the self which is already there, it is our self, that gets reflected in the Sattva Guna and reveals. We are able to realize it. And then it again talks about the next sloka, 118. What it says? Mishrasya sattvasya bhavanti dharmaha thomanitadya niyama yamadyaha Shraddha cha bhaktischa mumukshuta cha daivi cha sampat sampat daivi cha sampattirasannivrittihi Mishrasya sattvasya bhavanti dharmaha tvamanitadya niyama yamadyaha Shraddha cha bhaktischa mumukshuta cha daivi cha sampattirasannivrittihi. So it says, this Sattva Guna, it dharma, Mishrasya sattvasya dharmaha tu bhavanti. When the Sattva Guna is mixed with Rajas and Tamas a little bit, we have to make it Vishuddha Sattva. So how do we make it? We grow more in Sattva Guna and through these practices. What are the practices? It says, Amanitadhyaha niyamaha yamadhyaha. What is Amanitadhyaha? It is giving reference to Bhagavad Gita. Amanitvam, adambhitvam, ahimsa, kshantirarjavam. It comes in the 13th chapter as Dhyana Lakshana. 20 Lakshanas, Krishna tells Arjuna and says, Etad Dhyanamiti Proktam. And other things. These Lakshanas are Dhyana Lakshanas. Anything other than this is Adhyana, he says. So, Amanitadhyaha. Amanitadhyaha means Amanitvam, etc. That is, we have to understand he is referring to Bhagavad Gita, 13th chapter, 8th to 12th verse. I was taking them in Malaysia, not completed. So these are very good qualities which we have to, if we have to have the knowledge of the self, that I am the self, then these 20 lakshanas we must have. Why we must have these lakshanas? It is called jnana lakshanas. Yani eva sthitaprajnasya lakshanani tani eva sadhanani. Whatever is the lakshana of a jnani, for any seeker, those are the sadhana. That is, whatever are the lakshanas or characteristics a jnani shows, those should be our aim. We must aim to attain those qualities. So, this 20 virtues we must have. Then he again says, niyamaha yamadhyaha, niyama and yama, etc., which we have already done. So in Sarva Vedanta, Siddhanta, Sara, Sangraha also, yama and niyama came in 364th verse, which we have done thoroughly. Here also it is mentioned. This is Viveka Chudamani. Then comes some extra. Shraddha cha bhaktihi cha mumukshutaha cha. It needs shraddha, assiduous application. That is, you sometimes give your mind in this, sometimes your yearning is there, sometimes not there. Whatever you read, you do not follow it. Say a student who goes to school and sits in the class, doesn't do the homework or classwork, will that student pass the exam? It is like that. You are listening, you are reading, you are understanding, but you are not making it your own so that you can live it. So, it says that Shraddha is necessary. Whatever you hear or read, make it your own. Give Shraddha to it. It is not an occupation or time pass. Shraddha has to be this. Understand. Ask questions. Why it is so? How can I apply it to myself? These thoughts should be there. Bhakti. Now bhakti, we know bhakti as bhakti towards God. Invisible God, who is all pervading, who is everywhere. That we call bhakti. And we have got several forms of God whom we are worshipping. And we shed tears taking names of God, worshipping God. So, what is that? God is somebody who is much, much superior. His glory, His magnificence, everything is huge. We cannot even contemplate on that. And we should read about His glories, His excellences, what He represents. And even though we do not know, we have not seen God, we feel that He is a power who will protect us. And we become full of love for Him, full of respect for Him, full of devotion for Him. We shed tears worshipping Him. So bhakti is an emotion of the mind which is directed to God, who is supreme. That is called bhakti. In the devotional field, that is called bhakti. God, who is everywhere, when our mind is with emotion, constantly focused, loves God, makes God his friend, worships him with lot of feelings and emotions, that is called bhakti. What does Vedanta say as bhakti? Swaswarupānusandhānam bhaktirityabhidhīyate. That is, with that kind of one-pointedness, focusedness. What is bhakti for God? That is, your mind is focused on God. And what is bhakti, actual bhakti here? Swaswarupānusandhānam. Who am I? What is my swarupa? To look for that, to search for that, that is called bhakti. So in both ways, bhakti is a one-pointedness, wholesome feeling, wholesome emotion for something to be attainable, which is much, much superior than us, or subtle. So, we must grow in bhakti. In devotional text we say, bhakti has to be unmotivated. Unmotivated. It's not that we go to the temple and worship God, giving puja, saying that, please keep my family all right, let everybody's health be all right. Not those, not with any particular prayer for your family or your known people, for your profession, for your children. No. Unmotivated, that is, without asking anything in return. That is bhakti. Actually, that is true bhakti. So, here also, Shraddha we must have, bhakti we must have, that is one-pointedness. That is, the sadhana should be one-pointed yearning, that we must do the seeking. And my sadhana, I will not constantly see whether my sadhana, you are giving me something in return to my sadhana. No. We should be devoted to the sadhana, devoted to the sadhana itself. When we are devoted to anything, we do that. Like a wife who is a chaste wife will be devoted to the husband. Mothers will be devoted to the children and the family. That devotedness. So our devotion here means, bhakti means devotion to the pursuit. Devotion to the pursuit of increasing Sattva Guna, making it pure and pure and purer. So when we are devoted, one is devoted to the work. Those who are very sincerely working, they are devoted to the work. For the work, whether it is in an office, in the house, wherever, whatever work you do it sincerely and well and excellently. That is called devotion. Mumukshutta acha, and your yearning should be tivra. Burning mumukshutta, burning yearning. It should not be that, oh, acha, I have heard this, okay, someday I will do it. Or thinking that, what is that? There is so much time left in my life, I can do it later. Now let me think about other things, which gives me short-lived pleasure. Mumukshutacha, mumukshutta should be there. Then again it says, Daivicha sampattihi, and cultivate Daivi sampatti. See, here also it says that cultivate the divine qualities. Cultivate the divine qualities. And what is the divine? And also asannivrittihi. Asannivrittihi. Daivicha sampattihi. The divine tendencies should be cultivated. Asannivrittihi. And turn away from whatever is unreal. What is unreal? Which is not going to remain forever. we are constantly, bahye niruddhe. It said that bahye niruddhe manasa prasannata. I'm again going back to that shloka. Vivekachudamani 117. Bahye niruddhe, all the objective world which is constantly attracting us, it's saying that do not give indulgence. Stop it. And here it says, asannivrittihi. Withdraw from whatever is unreal. What is unreal? What is real? Which always exists. Which is unreal? Which does not exist forever. So when we give indulgence to the external world, the external attractions, we forget that all of it is part of the changeful world, and everything is changeful, perishable. Suppose one particular sense organ wants some particular object, we get it also. It's not going to last forever. It's not going to give lasting happiness. The happiness will be over. Sometimes the duration of happiness may be for some time, but it will be over. Adyantavantaha. These happinesses from the worldly objects, it is always coming and going, appearing and disappearing. It has beginning and end. So, we should not be looking for that. Vakye niruddhe. And here the word is asannivrittihi. So those happinesses which do not remain forever, remain away from them. Those are unreal. What is real? Real is the self. So dwell as much as possible in the thought of the self, Brahman, and try constantly not to indulge in such thoughts, such actions, such feelings, such emotions, which has no connection to let you progress towards the aim of attainment of the real identity or nature, the self. And then comes Vishuddha Sattvasya Guna Prasadaha. So when one is Vishuddha Sattva, then this is number 119 of Vivek Chudamani. This I have done many times, I think. I'll just tell the meaning. Vishuddha Sattvasya Guna Prasadaha. When you go by practice, effort, and keeping the aim alive in the mind, you feel that you must increase in Sattva Guna, and you have taken to all these, what the scriptures are telling us to do, very, very heartily, very, very sincerely, we try to do. And all are connected to each other. If you do a few, you will find the other few are also getting done. That is, the pursuit of the other few also are there. So then you go, and the pursuit is to progress, and slowly you reach that Vishuddha Sattva state where your mind is not afflicted by anything of the world. You may be doing all your work, but the mind is not affected. So the mind has become, Manaprasadaha has been achieved, Chittaprasadaha has been achieved. So when that state is achieved, in Viveka Chudamani, Shankaracharya is saying, Gunaha Prasadaha, the Lakshana that one will see in that seeker who has attained will be Prasadaha, placidity of the mind. This placidity does not depend on any object of the world, any situation of the world. Generally, our placidity of the mind depends on some object which we have wished we got, situations which we wanted we have got. But, or maybe the life is going on very smoothly, so the mind is very restful, peaceful. It is like that. But this placidity comes forth from the placidity of the self. The self, not on any external object. Swatmanubhuti. In that state, you realize the self, and that is why the prasada is the result. Parama prashantihi, because the mind has attained this manaprasannata, so parama prashantihi, supreme peace one has, supreme peace in the mind. That peace will not be broken by anything because it does not depend on anything. The self's nature comes up. Self has its own characteristics. Those characteristics reveal itself. Our parama prashanti, peacefulness, calmness, everything is dependent on situations, objects, our plans getting fulfilled, our wishes getting fulfilled, our health remaining all right, families, everything is okay. It's not that. It is coming out from the self, the nature of the self. Then triptihi, contentment. And that contentment is undestroyable. Now our contentment is sometimes there, sometimes not there. It's not like that. Ever contented we become. Praharshaha. It will be exhilaration. Seeing the self everywhere, always in a state of happiness, cheerfulness, and Paramatma Nishtha. There will be a Nishtha in the Paramatma, that is Nishtha on the self. You will abide by the self. The whole life now will effortlessly flow by this abidance. That is, whatever you do, whatever you think, whatever you are interacting with, there will be self and self alone as the substratum. You will never fall from that knowledge. Yaya sadananda rasam samrichyati. And when that is so, sadam is always, unbrokenly, ceaselessly, ananda rasam samrichyati. You will be enjoying this overflowing bliss of the self. I did this along with this because these three are coming together in Vivekachudamani. Now we go back again to Sarva Vedanta Siddhanta Sara Sangraha, where we started 365th sloka, where Shankaracharya is saying, Asurim sampadam tyaktva bhajed yo daiva sampadam mokshaika kankshaya nityam tasya chittam prasidati. He says that those who want only liberation from the shackles of the mind, only, alone, or alone liberation, they do not want anything else. They don't want a house, a car, or anything, any enjoyment. They know that if they can get rid of these shackles of the mind, which is making the mind constricted and burdened and as if tied up with a chain, that is why sometimes you like something, sometimes you don't like anything. Sometimes the mind will feel that, oh, I'm quite happy. Sometimes you'll feel nothing is pleasurable in the life. It is because of these shackles. So those who want to get rid of that, what they should do, they should cultivate the divine qualities and completely renounce and remove, tektva, remove the asuric tendencies. And from there I went to Vivekachudamani, explaining first how the Sattva is like pure water and why the Sattva Guna should be enhanced, because it reflects the self. Then I said, here also Shankaracharya is saying not only one should develop the Daivi Sampad, divine qualities, one should also pursue and cultivate amanitvam, adambhitvam, the jnana qualities. Also additionally he should have shraddha, he should have bhakti, he should have mumukshuta. So remember this. It's not that it's only, all these slokas are not separate things, all are together. From everywhere, if you read one or two, you will find that everything you will find this, how these references are coming to the mind. So I started with this. When I was doing this, suddenly remembered that, in Vivek Chudamani that word is there, bahye niruddhe manasa prasannata. Then when I'm doing that, they remembered that, Sattva Guna, about the Sattva Guna, these slokas are there. So it is good to know that it is not only that we have divine qualities, we also must have shraddha for the divine qualities. Say, it is saying that you must have the jnana lakshanas, amanitvam, adambhitvam. Amanitvam is not having any kind of pride, ego, etc. That I am this, I am that, I am very educated, I am very efficient. We all have. I am a very good cook. Whatever I cook, everybody likes. Or I am very good-natured. Everybody tells that I am a very good-natured, loving person. This I. And the feeling of pride for that. And adambhitvam, that is ostentation. You show what you are not. Maybe you are an irritable person, but when you are in a group, you try not to show your irritation. But with your near and dear ones, every day you are shouting at them. So ostentation. So amanitvam, adambhitvam, ahimsa, kshanti, rajyavam. Many of the qualities are actually overlapping, similar. So in this, when we have this, in this sloka, it is saying that cultivate the Daivi Sampatti. Here also we have to, Shankaracharya is saying, not only Daivi Sampatti and not only these Jnana Lakshanas, those qualities, you must have Shraddha. How will you even start the pursuit of cultivation? You must have Shraddha for that. If you love some quality, the quality will become yours because you love it. So in anything, you will love it. So naturally, you will be going towards it. Say, one wants to be very humble. If humility is something one wants to have, he will see that in the whole interaction process, did I become non-humble at any time? That will prick him, prick the seeker. I talked a little non-humbly. So why is this introspection going on? Because he loves humility, wants to become humble. So Shraddha for the quality is very, very important. Bhakti for the quality is very, very important. And Mumukshuta is, it must that these also together with the yearning to practice and develop, that should be there. So these are all very equal, similar. Now, similar slokas in Viveka Chudamani, in Sarva Vedanta, Siddhanta, Sara, Sangraha, in Bhagavad Gita. If you go to Yoga Vasishta, you will find similar slokas are there. If you go to Bhagavatam, you will find similar slokas are there. So we find that scriptures are equivocally talking about purification of the mind constantly. So we have to purify the mind. By what? By growing good qualities, which are being called as divine qualities. And we should not miss this point in sadhana. Sadhana is not only in reading, listening, maybe contemplating, doing meditation. Many people say that no, I am now able to sit for meditation for 1 hour. That is very good. If you are reading and listening and not spending time in unnecessary talk, that is also good. You are doing swadhyaya. But how are you in interaction? How is your nature? That is why in Bhagavad Gita, Bhakta Lakshanas are there. What should be the qualities of a Bhakta? The Bhakta, if you are a Bhakta, you should be, the first is Adveshta Sarva Bhutanam. You should not have any ill feeling towards any creature in this world. There we failed. And there are many, many, many. And when we see, we find that in many we are not getting marks. So we have to try. So we miss this point. We feel that, we are able to do meditation, that is all. We miss the point that we have to, for the meditation to be effective, these divine qualities are to be there. So one has to give due importance to purification of the mind. And sadhana will be complete and wholesome when, apart from having an understanding of the self, mind my words, I think this is a 200th session for me. Similarly, Swamiji, Nutan Swamiji, so how many lectures have been there? So every time we are just hammering into this knowledge that I am the self, I am not the body, and the self is everywhere, it is the Brahman, the universal self. So we are telling this. So nobody has any doubt about that knowledge, it is there in the mind, one has understood, I am not the body. But what does that mean? Just like a parrot, if I say, I am not the body, I am not the body, that will not do. You have to have those qualities by which you will remain seated stably in the knowledge and live your life like that, like the Jivan Muktas. So, the sadhana will be complete and wholesome only when, mark my words, only when, apart from having an understanding of the self, one purifies the mind. Understanding alone is not enough. One has to purify the mind by constantly pursuing to increase the Sattva Guna, which also means constantly removing desires, possessiveness, ego, etc., etc., the traits which are evil, which agitate the mind. So purification of the mind is inevitable, indispensable. It has to be done. Then alone, this understanding becomes a stable realization. Then alone. Why? Many people say that when we hear, we understand, and when we go home and get into our activities, everything goes. Why? The realization is not stable. For the realization to be stable, one has to purify the mind. And that is what we are now trying to understand. I think I have been only discussing that, and each of us, because all the Upanishads are also telling that, Bhagavad Gita is telling that, all our scriptures are pointing towards that. Actually, while reading and listening, we miss this point that we have to give due importance to mind purification. We feel only reading and contemplation will not do. So, let us see what our Shastra, that is why Shruti Mata, the Shastras are like the mother. The Shastra, they hold our hands and tell us that come this way, I will take you towards your fulfillment. Only thing, we have to have the Shraddha, Bhakti, Mumukshuta to go towards that aim. Actually, these are very beautiful. very beautiful. Beautiful to think about, beautiful to dwell in, beautiful to think, looking at everything, Somebody sent me a flower, picture of a flower. That flower I have never seen. It's a very peculiar looking flower. I don't know where it grows. So the thought came to me that everything emerges from God. This flower also, it is His creation. And so many things the Creator creates. Just like human beings, they will decorate their house with so many items. The Creator is decorating His creation with so many various kinds of things. He creates and He arranges, He looks after them, then He breaks them, again creates. What a Leela is this? Okay. Sampurnam Jagadev Nandanavanam Sarvepi Kalpadrumaha Gangam Vari Samasta Vari Nivaha Punyas Samasta Kriyaha Vacha Prakrita Samskrita Shruti Shiro Vara Varanasi Medini Vacha Prakrita Samskrita Shruti Shiro Varanasi Medini Sarva Vasthitirasya Vastu Vishaya Drishte Parabrahmani Sarva Vasthitirasya Vastu Vishaya Drishte Parabrahmani. Jai Guru, Jai Guru.